Welcome to another episode of League Talk, where we bring to you the news going on with the latest information on League of Legends. Today I am with two of my beautiful hosts. One of them being Mr. Anthony
What's
Leon.
up?
Oh,
What
whoa,
up?
whoa, don't cut me off. Whoa,
Yeah, I can't help it.
yes, it's the Asian powers. Asian
Ah,
powers.
yes.
And then our second host today will be Mr. Matthew Kovacs.
Hey, I'm still trying to get better with Rumble. It's not working.
It's not working. Oh, yeah. So today we're bringing to you an episode about the 3.10 patch notes that will be dropping, I believe, tomorrow, right, guys?
I believe so.
I believe so. Don't quote me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, cool. So with that, we got our host. I say we just get straight into it. You guys already know what we played this week. Actually, for those of you guys who don't know, Matt Kovacs is also going to be a regular here on the show. Just missed a few first 2 weeks, so hopefully he's no longer flaking on us.
Yes, I will be here.
Thanks, Matt.
Good. Mr. Busy Matt, Mr. Businessman over there.
Yeah.
So let's get straight into it. Today we wanted to talk about the items change in League of Legends. There's a lot of items added and removed from the game this time. So
I'm sad because
why are you sad today?
I like the runic work. I don't agree
It's
with
too
them
good
removing
though.
it.
It's too good. I feel like it's too good for the item cost, and I kind of agree with it. When there's one item that's being built every single game, I feel like that's reason to either remove it or nerf it. So I do kind of agree with it.
I mean, the least they could have done is just nerf it instead of making Aegis build into Locket.
Um, well, I feel like I was originally very nervous about when they removed it because the MR items for junglers would be very not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they did a really good job. They added a new item actually called Spectre's Cowl. And this one's Ruby Crystal, Negatron Cloak, and I think it's like
205.
205 gold. Yeah, so a total of 1400 gold. Very cheap for a jungler. It gives 200 health, 45 magic resist, grants 15 health regen, and 10 seconds after taking damage.
From a champ.
Okay, so anytime you take damage, you gain 15 health per 5, which is pretty solid. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Especially for pretty much 1400 gold.
It seems really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like this item. I feel like if I was gonna top lane against a Shen or something, I think I'd build this item.
Exactly. I feel like it's strong in the jungle, and it's going to be a very strong top also. So I definitely agree with it. And so Spirit Vessels also had a change. What they did was they changed its building path, so it no longer uses just a Negatron cloak, it now uses the Spirit Cowl from them. Yeah,
And then,
Spirit Cowl and the Kindle Gem, and then it's
yeah.
375 gold. And
I
so
like
it's a
that.
little more expensive than it was before, but it gives a little more stats. It gives 20 health per 5 at all times. Magic resist was up from 45 to now 55, and the health is increased to 400 from 200. So
That
a
is
lot
just
of big buffs.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it seems like going to be a pretty strong new item.
Yeah.
They removed the old passive, which was the regeneration increase, but just gave it flat health regen. What do you guys think about that?
I like that a lot better because I feel that with Zac, what makes him really strong is his ability to get Spirit Visage so early because it was only a 2200 gold overall cost, and then the fact that he gave it that passive in addition with the blobs and stuff like that. I feel when he could pick it up after his abilities, that was what led him to be overpowered in a lot of his cases, and so I feel that upping both the gold and removing that old passive is going to make it so that characters like him and other characters that are reliant on health regen like Mundo and stuff like that will have to itemize a little bit differently, and they won't always have to build a Spirit Visage.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's one thing that, although Zac doesn't necessarily need a Spirit Visage, he's strong without it. If you build one in those cases, he just becomes like an unstoppable monster. So
It definitely downs the power level of the top lane Zac a little bit.
yes. I still feel his kit's kind of ridiculous, and it doesn't matter.
Oh
But
yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
His kit's just really good overall.
So they also made Spectre's Cowl do something else. It doesn't only turn into Spirit Visage, it also now turns into Banshee's Veil. And
Really?
what they did, yes, and so what they did here was it's a ruby crystal, Banshee, or the Spectre's Cowl, and 875 gold for a new total of 2750, which is up from the old 2520. Yeah, 2520. And what they did is they upped the health by 50, so 450 now. Up the MR once again from 45 to 55. Mana, it no longer gives any mana, which kind of seemed really strange to me.
Yeah, that seems
Um,
weird.
yeah, and then its new passive now, it grants 45 health per 5 for 10 seconds after taking damage from an enemy champion, and the spell when the spell shield breaks. So it still has the spell shield, and so that's still really good. And now it has the additional 45 health per 5. So essentially, you're going to be killing 90 damage anytime you're hit by a spell or any attack.
Mhm.
So that I don't know really if I like that because Old Banshees was really good. I feel like Old Banshees wasn't getting bought enough, so I feel like it needed a change.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Matt.
yeah, I agree with that. And now, basically, the only item that Catalyst ends up building into is Rod of Ages, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
correct.
kind of weird because I remember Catalyst being kind of bigger like a while ago. Like you'd see it on a lot of people, and now, I mean, it's only really builds into one item. So I don't know if
I
they're
feel like they're trying to phase Catalyst
yeah.
out because Catalyst is such a strong laning item. And it slows. Essentially, when you buy Catalyst, what you do is you either buy it and just play super defensive because you're kind of like a Boolean lane now because you can't get shoved out, or you buy it and just win your lane because your opponent just can't keep up with your sustain. So I feel like it's one of those items that just kind of doesn't help the game because it either slows down your lane or speeds it up to the point where your opponent can't keep up. So I think that's the reason why they're trying to get rid of it. They're just not really mentioning it.
With the catalyst getting taken away from Banshee's Veil, I feel like it kind of hurts Rise a little bit just because it means he can't diversify on his build.
Oh, most definitely. For the fact that it no longer gives any mana whatsoever,
Yeah.
Rise now has to probably fill that slot with something different.
Like, does he have any mana item that gives him magic resistance anymore?
There's
I don't think.
no item in the game now that'll give him magic resist and mana.
I
So
think that might have been the reason why they did that.
um, I can definitely see that because Rise has been seeing quite a bit of play. I can't really on the fly think. I guess you might just start getting Abyssal Scepter
Hmm.
over, but that's kind of to be seen. So
That's kind of weird. Like,
one
on
thing
Rise.
One thing I'm really excited about, and I've been kind of wanting this to happen for the longest time, was Guardian's Angel's always been a really good armor item, and just was like, here's a little bit of MR for the trouble. So now what they did is instead of making it so you need a chain vest and a null magic mantle, and now it requires a chain vest and a Negatron cloak. So it's up the value from 2,500, I believe, 2,600 to 2,750. So it's only a little bit more, and it's basically giving you 40 MR from 30. So that's a pretty. I think it's pretty good. I don't really get why isn't no magic mantle or Negatron cloak give 45 standard, or is it 40 that it gives?
I believe it's 20. I might
Is
be
it?
wrong about that.
I
I
think a
believe it
10
was
MR
40.
increase for only 150 gold is really
Yeah.
really
Okay.
great.
Yes.
And then on the champions that you're going to be getting a Guardian's Angel on, like 150 gold is kind of a negligible amount anyway. Like you won't really have to worry about it. So I
Um.
think that that's just a
I think
quality of life buff for that item.
I think what it does is it hurts 80 carries a little bit, not very much of course, because it's still only 150 gold.
Right.
But it helps tankier people because the extra 10 magic resist makes it so it's not like an all-in armor item now like it used to be. So
Mm.
I definitely feel like it's helping the people they want it on, and they're trying to get rid of it on the people they don't want it on, which is 80 carries. So I definitely feel yeah, and no magic and no. I'm sorry, Negatron Cloak does give 40, so it's just giving you the same amount.
Okay.
And as Anthony was saying earlier, they're removing Runic Bulwark from the game. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Like
Uh,
I played support a lot and then have been like practicing jungling. So like having to build an Aegis every game and then eventually just building it into a bulwark, like it means that I'm only really going to build a few items in a game and I already know what that one's going to be and I'm going to have to build like a certain set of boots and everything else. So it's like I don't know, when you're jungling, especially with having to build the Aegis and then eventually into the bulwark, it makes it feel like your game is you already know what it's going to be before you like finish loading in. Like you know what you're going to do and you just have to really hope you don't get counter jungled. Like that's the only there's no variance and so it's kind of a boring game. So I feel like taking runic bulwark out and making people have to diversify past that Aegis, and not necessarily building locket every game. I think it's going to make it so people actually have to think and they like itemize specifically towards champions.
Anthony?
I think the same thing that Matt does, but I just questioned the whole making Aegis go into Iron Solari, because right now Solari is a little bit weaker in its active because they nerfed it a little bit. I feel like if they made it into a higher tier item, they should have upped the shield so that champions that built it are rewarded more for building it.
Hmm. Okay, I can see that. I personally, I'm kind of with Matt on this one. I really don't. I kind of feel like everything's predetermined as a jungler, and I really dislike that. I feel like anytime I play Zac, I'm building Ancient Golem into cooldown boots into um, Ruinic Bulwark. So that's something I really disliked in the game, and I felt like every game, no matter what champion I played, that was essentially the build you were building every single time, and it just gets stale, and that's not what they want in the game. So I definitely agree with them removing it. I feel like a change in price or maybe messing around with the numbers was also very doable, but I think they took probably the safest route to being able to diversify the jungle build and such.
Yeah, the weird part for me is that the Kindle gem is gone because there was a Kindle gem that built into Locket, wasn't there?
Yes, it was
And then
Kindle Gem, cloth armor, and cloth armor and something else. I
yeah,
apologize.
like it's kind of weird that they just have that 600 gold there instead of a Kindle gem. Like I understand for cost, but like it's kind of funny now that you're like this 300 health and this 10% cooldown reduction kind of comes out of nowhere, and you don't have to build a Kindle gem for it, which I don't know. Like that's kind of weird because I mean I would also build Locket like late game on a support, and so it's like I liked the idea of just like I know that I'm always going to be buying Kindle gems, and here like if that 600 gold could be like a health crystal and then something else, it gives you more time to build because like now I have to wait to have 600 gold basically, and then I'm having to go like buy extra wards and stuff like that, and so I feel like I don't know. I feel like the Locket is not going to be built nearly as often as Bulwark was, and I'm pretty sure that that's what they want, but I don't really know if that's necessarily like what is the best for the game. Like
Well, I believe the reason why they're doing this is because Aegis gives 200 health instead of the old 250. No magic resist, no of the other stuff, right? Uh, Locket now gives only 300 health, which is what it already gave. 20 armor, 10% cooldown reduction, which is new. Then the active's the same,
mm,
and it's got the aura, which just gives the armor, right?
Yeah, it's the Legion armor
Oh,
for
it's gonna
Aegis.
give 20 MR, and it's gonna give no armor. Actually, what? Yeah, it's gonna give no armor.
yep, no armor and it doesn't give any
It gives
extra
20
bonuses
magic
to minions.
resist.
Yeah.
Okay, so like that, the reason why they I think made the 600 gold is because what item are we gonna put in there that adds 100 health pretty much, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
about
true.
it. Because like if you make it so it's a Kindle gem or you make it so it's a ruby crystal, ruby crystal's 180 health. So there's not really something you can do there, I think. So I feel like the 600 gold makes sense, but I think they could maybe make it like 800 gold and add 50 health to it or something. I'm not sure. We'll
Yeah.
have to just. That
We
might be
have to
too
see how it
good.
affects the game.
Exactly. That just might be too good. So besides those like main changes to the items, they also nerfed Blade of the Ruin King a little bit, so the duration lasts only 3 seconds instead of the four.
Mhm.
Warden's Mail got nerfed a little bit. Well, maybe
I like that the
they made
cost
us.
is down a little bit. I think that's actually nice. I like building Warden's Mail.
Yeah, Warden's Mail is now only 1,000 instead of the old 1,100, and the slow duration is now only 1 second from 1.5.
Which isn't that big of a change anyway.
Yeah.
You usually can close a distance in 1 second anyway.
Yeah. And then they made the same change to Rando and Zoman, basically.
Yeah.
The
And Frozen Heart's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
so,
of the 1-0.
Exactly. Besides that, what other? They changed a few icons in the game, which not a big deal. Nobody. I really don't like the icons actually. After looking at them, like
Abyssal Scepter looks kind of cool. Like I like that it looks like a spine.
Yeah, that was kind of cool, but like Vampiric Scepter, I thought looked ridiculous. Like
I haven't gotten to look at them yet, so I don't know.
Yes. So for those of you guys who don't know, I think that's all the changes to the items. So they're making a few changes to the maps this game, and I like them. Overall, I feel like it's a good change. I think the jungle is the place they need to change the most right now in order to like change the meta and to change the way their game is being played. So I think they're trying to take a good change into that. So for Summoner's Rift, they're making it so all minions spawn at 2 minutes and 5 seconds instead of 155. The only thing that spawns at 155 still is, of course, blue and red buff.
Yeah.
What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I feel like it's not that big of a change in the fact that you were doing blue and red first anyway, usually. I mean, I don't think that many people were starting at wolves or anything anymore. And I know that the change is directed so that like your top and bottom lane don't take golems or wolves and then go to lane. But like, I mean, looking at the patch notes themselves, it's kind of weird that every other camp got a base experience increase except for wraiths, and so I don't know if they didn't do wraiths to keep so that mid lane doesn't just do wraiths and then your jungler skips over it, or if there's like some other reason they didn't.
The reason why they didn't do wraiths is because wraiths is basically the fastest cleared camp. It's the easiest to do. Wraiths deal like the most damage, but they die the fastest. So for that reason alone, mid anybody can just kill them, and they wanted to make it so mid didn't have an unfair advantage because of it, I believe. That's the thing that makes the most sense to me, at least.
It showed a lot of matches that I've watched recently. Basically, whoever hits level 2 can win the lane pretty easily because they have extra abilities and they just do a lot more damage. So that's probably why they changed the timers on it. So it basically forces them to decide: do we want to be skipping out on CS in the lane, or do we want to be getting this buff, or the like golems or something?
Yeah, that makes sense. Another big change that I think this is possibly like one of the bigger changes to me because I play jungle a lot, so I kind of understand how this works. Counter jungling is getting nerfed in my opinion because red and blue buff experience used to be 340 every time you killed them. Then the small lizards next to it would only be 10, so you'd end up with 360 experience, after killing the camps at level 1, which would, I believe, 300 experience get you to level 2. So that's a huge change because if you get counter jungled, if they take just like your red buff and your blue buff and leave your 2 minions there, you're only getting 20 experience from it. So now what they're doing is they're reducing the lizards and the golem experience down to 260 like it used to be, and upping the small lizards from 10 to 50. So I feel like that's really good because it was making this definitely hurt to Nunu and it hurt to really strong counter junglers. So
I believe that. I mean, I agree with you entirely, but I think with the experience of Nunu and seeing it in LCS play and just like overall gameplay of Nunu, they realized their mistake in changing the jungle like that. It leads to a lot of like negative play and toxic play.
Most definitely.
I mean, I think we all laughed our asses off at that Nunu counter jungle video like as soon as that happened. So I think that this is kind of like addressing that and addressing the fact that he was banned like all week on solo queue that week and all week at the LCS when that patch hit and everything. So I think that they're just kind of trying to make it so that the jungle is not like just like a one-sided fest of like, oh, I'm level 2 and he's like level 7 and like this game's already over.
Yeah, shout outs to Trick2G for that YouTube video.
Yeah.
Gotta show that disrespect.
All the disrespect.
Yes, all of it. Great thing. So they're having a few other changes on it. So Baron got a pretty significant change in my opinion. Too many team fights were going on in Baron, and because people had the Baron buff, your team basically just insta lost any kind of fight. So what they're doing is they're changing Baron buff this patch to make it so only damage done to Baron is nerfed instead of damage overall output. Um, how do you think that'll change gameplay?
I think it makes a
Um,
lot of sense, and that
yeah.
also it's just like I'm sure like what Anthony's gonna say is just like seriously like every game goes to whatever minutes, and then somebody tries to Baron, and then like they just get like annihilated or something like that, and then it's over. Like it just like some of the games that go long, you just end up waiting until somebody tries Baron because then they're just gonna get aced, and then the game's over, and it's just I don't know why this wasn't done sooner, honestly. Like I don't know why they didn't look and see that statistic of like how many games end directly after a fight at Baron, and then try to figure out like, well, we don't necessarily want every game ending after a fight at Baron, unless you win, obviously, and get the buff. Like
Of
fighting it,
course.
winning it, and getting the buff, and then still losing because you have the debuff on is like such a like it doesn't make any sense to me why that's like something that you would continue to have happen so commonly.
It definitely leads to a lot of games that teams throw to Barons, I feel. Because, like, really bad Baron fights or something like that.
The reason why they used to have the debuff damage output was because they didn't want you to just do Baron and then be able to do it as early as they could and win a fight. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think the reason why they're now changing it isn't necessarily because of the whole people do Baron and they change it. The reason why they're changing it, I feel, is because of that debuff and because of the risk of dying at Baron, because you have that debuff, people are doing Baron at a much later time instead of sooner. And what they're doing is they're trying to promote faster play, more aggressiveness, and by you being able to, and by there not being as much of a risk of doing Baron, there's more reason to do Baron. So I think that's one of their big reasons for doing this also.
Yeah, try to get rid of the 71-minute double lift games.
I was gonna
Try
say,
to
like, did
cut down
anyone
on that.
think of those guys? Just like,
Yeah,
oh, they're tired of TSM and CLG just going like 50-minute games, hour-long games. Like,
yeah,
guy,
yeah.
please
The
speed
big
up.
CLG game where like both teams had over 100K gold. It's like, yeah, that's not League of Legends. Like that shouldn't be happening. Like,
Another thing that they were addressing this is there was a lot of magic damage champs that were just like destroying Barons, such as Nunu and Elise.
Mm.
By them, they changed it before Baron's buff was reduced attack damage by 50%. Now it reduces, I believe it's all damage. I mean, just physical and magic damage by 50%. So this was another reason for that. They just didn't want people soloing or just destroying Baron quickly.
Or Zach duoing with someone like, God,
Yeah,
that guy
Zach,
does
Zach
damage.
could duel with it. Nunu could do it at like 15 minutes if you maxed Q and had cooldown reduction in it. Like you could do it at 15 minutes. It was crazy. You just needed someone to help you tank a little bit. Then there's another thing that they're doing, which I kind of don't really understand this one as much. They're changing turrets armor to make it so before what turrets do currently is the outer turrets start off at their base armor, and then throughout the first 8 minutes of the game they gain armor up to that point. What they're doing now is they're giving them an upfront like heavy high amount of armor, and then for the first 4 minutes reducing it. And then by the time the 4 minutes are over, it ends around the same amount of armor, I believe, as it used to end at the 8 minute mark.
yeah,
Uh, I'm not a big fan of this change because it makes taking turrets a lot harder early, which sure, I understand they don't want people to just like take turret at level 2 or something crazy because of some insane like situation, but I feel like that kind of promotes aggressiveness because taking turrets isn't always a bad thing or isn't always a good thing, I guess. So I'm not
yeah.
very sure like what their thought process is on this.
I think they want to like encourage the lane swapping kind of thing, where you have like a jungler helping a top lane who's in like a 2v1 lane or something like that. And I think that when the turret can go down faster than the jungler can show up, like if you're in a 2v1 lane top and your jungler and the jungler on the enemy team shows up bottom, like you can push and take the turret before you know he can get top, and then you're up a turret or whatever, and you get out of lane. And I think that that's like they don't want that to happen. They want the jungler to be able to help out in the 2v1 lane, and I think that like almost every change in this patch is probably aimed towards making jungling like more interesting and more of an important role somewhere along the line.
Well, right now I know I've been hearing it from a lot of different people. I was actually talking to one of my friends that are, I don't want to say any names specifically, but I don't want to throw them under the bus or anything like that. But they're saying that I had something and I completely lost it.
What
So
about
now
the 2v1 lanes?
was it about the 2v1 lanes? I cannot remember at all. Now. This is absolutely terrible. I had something really good going here, then. Meow.
Exactly.
Yeah, something about the LCS. That's all I can remember for some reason.
Is that all the Summoner's Rift map changes?
Yeah, well, these are all definitely aimed towards the LCS for sure. Like, I think they definitely look at that and figure out what they want to do from there. But
Because I mean, the pros.
yes. Oh, there we go. I was talking to one of my buddies who's basically like up there with like the team manager of a certain team. Don't want to say. And so they were telling me how they feel the most important roles right now are mid and jungle because games aren't won necessarily just in lane or late game. They're won by how much pressure someone can put on the team. So if you're putting more pressure on your opponent's team, that'll cause them to make a mistake, which leads to your victory. Or if you're putting more pressure on their team, you're able to just do more things because they have less advantages and such. So because of that, jungle and mid are the two lanes able to put the most pressure, which right now is currently making them the most important lanes. So I feel like jungle, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so jungle has the ability to still put on pressure, but their pressure early game isn't as heavy. Because of like now by putting pressure on early, you don't take an early tower. By putting pressure on early, you lose maybe experience in the jungle because of how the experience is up and you get counter jungled. So we'll have to just wait and see.
It makes junglers decide what they want to do with their early game. Do they want to be clearing the jungle as fast as they can and like getting experience for each camp, or do they want to be applying pressure for lanes?
Yeah, exactly. So all that for that little experience. God, I can't believe that was okay.
I mean, lulls are important, dude.
No, I agree. So that's all with basically Summoner's Rift. They have a few changes. Riot's been talking about changing other maps a lot, such as Twisted Treeline and the Dominion map. They had some changes last patch to the champions. This time they had some changes to the items. So in Twisted Treeline, they removed Deathfire's Grasp, Needlessly Large Rod, which are two items that were kind of like being a little bit of an issue in that map. And they because I believe Needlessly Large Rod was only in the map for Deathfire's cap, so that's why they removed it. But they added Liandry's Tormented, which is Liandry. So that's the evolution of the
Haunting guys.
So they added that, and they added the Seeker's Arm Guard also, which is really good in my opinion. And they made it, and Seeker's Arm Guard actually now turns into the Spellblade, Moonflare Spellblade, if you guys remember that item from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
It gives tenacity, 50 armor, 50 magic resist, and 50 ability power for only 2,300. So it's a really cheap item.
Yeah.
With a lot of stats.
And tenacity, which is probably the most important part for an AP carry. Because like you have no items to build as an AP carry for tenacity, which is really awkward sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What other items did they change?
The Blackfire Torch and the Wooglet's Witch Cap.
What did they do to those?
So Blackfire Torch is now on a different build path with Blasting Wand and Fiendish Codex and 720 gold, so it ends up as 2,400 in total. Then it gives 80 AP, 10% cooldown reduction, and then its unique active is basically the Deathfire Grasp active, more or less. So it deals 20% of target champion's maximum health and magic damage over 6 seconds, and increases all subsequent magic damage taken by the target by 20%. And then it's got a minute cooldown, so that's kind of like the Deathfire Grasp burst ability, but also kind of what Blackfire Torch did, which was the dot and then reducing MR. So I think that's, I mean, it's kind of just cleaning up shop, I guess, making it a little bit
cheaper.
A little cleaner.
Yeah, a little nicer, yeah.
most definitely. Other than the Wiglets, they just basically added arm guard into it and increased the armor by a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's a good change because it seemed a little ridiculous that like you had to pay I think like 1,100 gold for like nothing.
Moonflare Spellblade is only going to be on those maps, correct? It's not being
Only
added
on
to
those
Rift.
maps.
Yeah, it's only gonna be on Twisted Tree Line and Crystal Scar. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
back on Rift.
Oh man, that weapon would be ridiculous.
I was
on
going to
Rift.
say, like, oh my god, I want to first item this so
Yeah,
badly.
they wouldn't need Spectre's Cowl if they were bringing back Moonflare Spellblade, probably.
That's a very good point. Cassidin status.
Well,
Yeah.
it specifies ranged only, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
So, I mean, eh.
So the scale count. I always question that. So
What?
if you killed one of those champions, that like, can you build both? Can you build only one? How does like you build a ravenous hydra on her, but she's now ranged? What? Like
How does that work anyway? I
I
actually
don't know.
know.
I will test this within
God.
by the next podcast. I will have this tested and it will be out. This must be known. It must be known.
Oh god, if she had a hurricane, oh my god.
guys. So there was a giant storm here the other day, and a Sharknado hit. It's been our joke for a while. Sharknado, what's more dangerous than a Sharknado? Sharknado with fucking like shrapnel in there. Then now you're really screwed. Like it's just
Charging at your face.
exactly. So basically, then they had other like little changes, such as like if you fail ready checks a lot in queues, you basically will start having a timer, such as if you just leave the actual champion selects, and they made it easier to search for champions now and such. But those were basically the big champion, the big map and little bug fixes that they had.
They also added a new type of character.
Oh, did they? What did they
Well,
add?
I mean, not new type, but they changed the name of a existing type. They changed AD carry to marksman now.
What was it called before? Was it called AD carry?
It was called 80 something. But I know that AD carries are 80. You know what I mean. But are getting changed to marksman. So like Caitlyn, Vayne, and all them are changed, and then people like Talon are being named like AD carry and stuff like that. Or something like that. I know that they gave AD carries a specific name now.
Oh yeah, 80 carries are marksmen, and I think they're just making all the other people. Oh, okay. So bruisers are now fighters, and people like Talon will be called assassins now. Makes a lot more sense.
Okay, they're just specifying what they do.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So now the thing that probably everybody was waiting for, champions. There's a lot of really good changes in this patch that I really liked. But first we're gonna go with all the bug fixes. So we had Fiddlesticks where they made it so magic resist doesn't work on Baron.
Yeah.
Fizz had like he wasn't doing his damage sometimes. I don't even what's rapid cast, is that
Like when
it
you would
just-
do the playful trickster thing, like where you go up
Yeah.
on the staff or whatever, like if you did it again too quickly off the top of the staff, you wouldn't actually do damage.
Yeah, so
Oh,
you
see.
EQ'd.
Yeah.
I wondered about that because I used to do playful trickster tap it twice fast, and there was many times where I just wasn't doing damage. That makes
Yeah.
sense now. Okay, that probably makes a lot of people happy then.
Yeah.
They made Nami's stun no longer last as much as it had a bug where sometimes it lasted too long. I knew it.
That explains so many things.
And just Poppy just had some other bugs where she just did things she wasn't supposed to. No one really cares about that champion. Who cares?
Her charge is so buggy sometimes. Like
Yeah.
you go to like the most random walls ever.
Yeah. Oh. See, I don't like her bugs fixes like, or who cares? Just
They're
leave it at
non-existent.
that. Who cares? So Ash had a small bug before where she would start getting passive stacks as even when it was on cooldown. And now what they did was to compensate for that, they just made it so her cooldown gives her more stacks.
Mhm.
So that was good.
They also fixed something on Vayne, I believe.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they fixed the condemn range.
Yeah,
So
condemn range was showing up not like the little circle it would show you wasn't accurate.
Okay, that makes sense.
even though some people don't even look at that stuff.
Yeah.
Smart cast for the win.
Yeah, same here. Gotta learn that shiz.
Actually, no. What it did was it fixed the bug where the cast range was longer than intended. So sometimes you'd cast it on someone, and it would shoot them away when they weren't actually within the cast range.
Yeah, yeah.
So it
The
was a
circle
bug.
wasn't showing where the edge of the range actually was.
Yeah, exactly. So like they made it so the range is actually the size of the circle now instead of
Like some
so
random number or something like that.
yeah. So that's good.
And then they
Okay.
increased her final hours for ult, right?
Yes, that's her ult. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
they increased the cooldown on that by a
I'm glad.
lot at 6.
Vayne needed the change. So basically now at level 16 she has the same 70-second cooldown, but at level 6 it's 100 and level 11 it's 85. So that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a couple big changes. Matt, do you want to talk about like the big change that you feel that you liked the most, or you felt like
Like, the
feel
change
too
that I
much?
liked the most and then the change that I liked the least, like, I really liked the changes on Elise, because I felt like she was just
Dumb.
really frustrating. Like, she was really frustrating to play against. Like, Spiderlings just made so many things not work the way that, like, I felt that they should. Like, the way that they were grouping and the way that they would drop before she would on repel, like, I just felt like it was too strong. And then,
I thought it was quite ridiculous the fact that you could dive someone, repel, and then when you land, all of a sudden they're attacking your spider.
yeah, exactly. It's like, that was so crazy. And then I'm sad that they are now nerfing Twisted Fate, because I was actually like, that was probably actually one of the champions that was going to be like next up on my like dudes I want to learn how to play list. And now the fact that they remade Loaded Dice to be like way worse than it was.
On
Like,
another level.
yeah, like pick a card is, you know, it is different, and it is a little bit worse in the fact that it is a little bit less utility. Because the 10 seconds was a little bit better, because you could really intimidate, like they say in the patch notes, like intimidate an opponent away from you. But yeah, the Loaded Dice remake is like, ugh, such a bad, like such a nerf to the point where I probably won't be playing that champion, or if I will, I won't be trying to get
Even
really
if
good
you
with them.
roll a 6 every single time, you're still giving yourself less gold than you would have given your
Yeah,
whole team.
and you're not
to
getting
other
gold on your carries and stuff, and yeah, it's just,
His passive is even more useless.
yeah.
No, but his passive used to be good.
Yeah, like his
Yeah.
passive was, you know, good and like accruing a gold
It wasn't-
lead, and I feel like it was changing a lot of matches.
You know, it's you know his old passive used to be gives 4% crit chance at level 1. That was dumb.
I remember that. People used to play 80 carry TF all the time.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, it would give it to everybody in the game.
Oh
so
my god.
It didn't matter. Like you play Gangplank level 1, and you just shoot someone with the Q, and oh man, 4% works. Half your life's gone. Like it was really dumb. There was a reason why they got rid of everything to make crit a factor in the early levels, because you could just have so much crit before with a lot of like factors in the game. So
It gives a little bit more randomness to early game.
exactly. So on another side, so Malzahar had bug fixes.
Did he?
Talk about those? Yeah.
I don't see it.
Basically, yeah, Malzahar had some bug fixes where missile visibility in the fog of Warbrush now consistent with. So basically, the missiles would queue through each other, but it wouldn't really reveal the area the way the missiles would appear. And the Voidlings used to spasm out whenever you had 2 Malefic Visions out on the field. So that was good. So Anthony, what was your most liked and least change? Your most hated? No, I don't know. Liking good and bad. Good and bad. Let's go.
I believe I think the most the change I like most is probably the least one, because the repel was really weird. I didn't when she first came out, I didn't understand why they had a circle for repel, and she could land outside of her repel or repel range, like the indicator. which was confusing on many different stages.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. If they're gonna show you the circle, it's like they're mind gaming you. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm fine, and then you're just like dead, and you're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, oh my
You're like
god.
outside the circle and she can still get to you. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The indicator is just like lying to you. Whereas now it's more it actually is the indicated circle range. I also definitely think that it will lead to releases being a little bit more careful with the repel because it means they can't close distances so easily.
Exactly.
My most least uh, liked change is probably the Twisted Fate passive because I don't like that passive. It makes it entirely useless now, and like
I
it's
feel
weird in
like
my
I
opinion.
heard all this before.
I mean, there's really a lot of champs that hey 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 don't throw me
Fanboy.
don't throw me under the bus, bro.
No, throwing it. Okay.
I
That's
disagree with Matt. Like there's really not much that I dislike about this patch other than the Twisted Fate thing. Like
yes.
everything that I've seen, I agree with and I'm fine with, but the Twisted Fate thing just pisses me off.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So
What will you miss?
me, no one cares about me.
It's not like you're the host or something.
Oh, my most hated change. I think that has to be Udyr. Because he now has a
Really?
new death animation, and his old death animation was amazing.
Uh,
No, just kidding. My most the change I really dislike was I guess it would also be Twisted Fate, but
Aha!
for not wanting a cop, y'all, I'm gonna have to go with the Elise. I really dislike it because I've been playing a lot of Elise, and I feel like I want to keep rolling on the Elise train. But like I feel like it was really needed. I do agree. Like they nerfed their minions for Spiderlings. They nerfed their health by about half, but increased their MR per level that you increase Spider. They increased armor and magic resist to about double whatever the armor and magic resist is now. So a little bit more than double actually. Then the other big change was basically her repel. They made it so she no longer becomes like amazing at diving people. She now gets punished even after repelling, unless her own minions get into tower range. So that's definitely a good one.
Mhm.
The change that I really like though is definitely the Master Yi change because I've always been a pretty big Master Yi fan, but I always hated the fact that I couldn't really play him AD unless I was jungling. Other than if I jungled Master Yi, I always had to go dunk Master Yi because 5 Zeals is always just too good.
Or
You
you
know?
get like your teammates like this guy's trolling, la 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 la. He's playing Master Yi in ranked.
Yeah, exactly. And you just couldn't play Master Yi. It was just so bad. Um, but they remade him, or they say they remade him. They just really changed him a little bit. I hate when they say remakes and all their moves are still literally the same thing. They just changed the numbers.
They changed the numbers and what it's scaled off of.
Yeah, but that's not really a remake. The character in itself is still exactly the same. A remake is something that they did like to Rise, where they completely changed them with his moves.
Hmm.
But in my opinion, Master Yi is still too much of the same to call it a remake. But it is what it is.
I
So
mean,
basically, what? Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, this is fine. Go ahead. I mean, I wasn't
Uh,
gonna say very much.
yeah, what they did to him was they upped his health, his base health and his health per level, but they nerfed his armor and armor per level. So he's kind of balanced there, so they kept him just as tanky. I think they made it so he's less of a jungler and more of like a laner, which I think is pretty good. His attack speed also got slightly nerfed. But now his new double strike is really good. From what so every fourth attack he basically attacks twice, and the second attack deals 50% damage. But the second attack counts as a basic attack, meaning his second attack counts towards the stack of the fourth attack. Meaning after the first rotation of 4 attacks, you only have to attack 3 times to get the double strike.
That's
I don't
dumb.
know if that's a bug, but that's how he is right now, and that's pretty good. His alpha strike basically, once again, is very similar. He becomes untargetable, hitting up to 4 units. The amount of units does not go up as he scales it. It's always 4, and it deals a little bit less damage than it did before, I think. But it has a 1-to-1 attack damage ratio.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And it can crit too.
Total attack ratio.
Ew.
Then if you use it on a minion, it deals an additional damage on top of that. No longer any chance on that. Alpha Strike and Crit Strike for 60% of Master Use AD also. So,
Ew.
pretty good. Every time you auto attack, it reduces the cooldown by a second, and the mana cost is roughly the same, 70, maxing out at 110. So I think that's pretty good change.
Why did they let it crit? It's like Garen.
They let it crit because I feel like he needs a spell that deals damage, because if they didn't actually do that, I don't know how much damage that might. I think they might, I don't know. We'll have to see. There's a lot of playing around to do with him, so.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think about his meditate?
Let's see. Mastery channels for 4 seconds, gaining reduced damage. Wow, it's just flat reduced damage now.
Yes, it's pretty good.
That's just really good now. And it still has the half decent ability scale.
Yep, definitely, and the amount it heals for is pretty good too.
Yeah, it definitely complements his AD stats a little bit more, just because it doesn't. You don't need a lot of AP for it to be worthwhile.
No, it increases by 1% for every 1% you're missing, so it's pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Which is good. Still has a ridiculously long cooldown though, which is understandable for a just straight up heal over a channel.
Yeah, that's definitely good, because its cooldown was a little too good before, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The new model looks sweet. Like the supposed like lightsaber skin or whatever actually looks just like legit lightsaber. Like there's no like the blade is just the blade is like just light. Like it's not like a sword that is blue. Like here like.
Oh, that's sick.
That's good. That's good, because I own that skin. I own his.
Yeah, that skin is awesome.
His meditate looks badass too.
I believe it. If I could find a picture with his new lightsaber skin, I'll show it here on the podcast, but I don't feel like I shall.
I linked it in the.
Oh, I see it now. Hold on.
I'm really sad I can't see the group chat. It's just sitting up in the corner.
I'm trying to not. I'm trying to post it using. Give me a second. I got this. Okay, yeah, this is what I wanted. So, see how good I am with these tools. It's been a while. Don't hate me.
Hate him. Hate him all, please.
Don't hate me.
It's just Moose. He can handle it. He's a mid.
Were there any other champs that were even? Oh, I guess Rise and Thresh, but that's basically it.
Yes. You guys want to go ahead and talk about those? Oh, also, okay, one more thing before we finish. Yi's Wuju Strike was changed to, it still gives the passive AD, the percent 7, max at 15, but now when you activate it, it adds an additional 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, plus 0.1, then maxes out at 0.2 total attack damage as true damage.
Yeah, I was gonna say it deals true damage.
While it's on, and that is it costs 0 mana now. Before I think it had a cost. His ultimate now, every time you get a kill or assist, it adds 4 seconds to your Highlander and still resets it. So it's pretty dumb.
I thought Highlander got changed.
No, it still reduces.
No, I thought Highlander changed where it didn't reset cooldowns. It just reset. Oh wait.
The cooldowns of his basic abilities are reduced by 18 seconds, half for assists.
Okay.
That's the passive for Highlander.
Okay, so
it reduces everything but Highlander by 18 seconds on a kill, and half for an assist. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
They made it so that Highlander doesn't reset, but he's still basically a reset champion. He just uses Highlander to close gap.
Yeah, and once again, it adds 4 seconds to his Highlander, so you don't really need much more. The only thing it won't fully get off cooldown is his meditate, which makes sense, you know. That'd be kind of ridiculous if it got
Meditate.
his meditate off
That would
cooldown
be
also.
that would be ridiculous.
So
Yeah.
Meditate.
yeah, if you guys
So
want to go and talk about the thresh, I'll let you talk about the thresh because I know you like the thresh there.
all right, yeah,
So
I'll talk about the thresh. Yeah, basically reducing his base health from 541 to 500 at the beginning is like is really necessary. Like thresh is so dumb to like play as or play against. Like that lane is so one-sided, and the fact that he can take so much abuse at the beginning, I usually start with the rejuve beat on thresh, and then the fact that I have 541 health base with whatever else, like I've got a health quints on my support page, so it's like it's really hard for me to die early on. And even if I am being harassed a bunch, I can get my W second, and then it's like the shield plus that health plus the health regen that I'm getting. Like it was way too much. And his base armor also being reduced is great because it's like the AD carry just couldn't do enough against Thresh without the fear of being hooked. Like they should be able, like the reward and the risk should be somewhat comparable at level 1. So I think that that's a good change. And then them changing the souls is also a really good early game nerf for him. And the fact that it's granting 0.7 armor and AP instead of 1, and then diminishing. So it's always 0.75 instead of 1, and then going and diminishing, which I think is great because, like they talked about, it gives you the sort of drive to get souls later on in the game, and it makes it so that when you just collect like 10 souls really early in the game, that you don't have like so much armor and AP that you're doing a ton of damage off your flay, and that you can't be touched by the AD carry. Like it's a good change overall. Like I think that they just needed to make Thresh less dumb level 1. Like he was hard to gank, he was hard to kill with an AD carry, and so I think that those changes are going to make bottom lane a little bit more balanced to try to like get more in line, like you guys were talking about last week with mid being the most balanced lane. I think they want to try to get bot when it's a 2v2 to become a little bit more balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't play Rise, so you can go ahead and talk about that, Anthony.
So what they did to Rise was that they changed his range for all his spells. So his Overload got reduced to 600. His Rune Prison got reduced to 600. I believe they flat changed all the range to 600. And so what this does to Rise is that it means that he has to basically run into the team to actually deal his damage, which is a little bit harder. I mean, he gets a little bit more movement speed from his R, but the thing is that Riot wanted to do is that he could get to the backlines really easily, and couldn't get punished for it. So tanks couldn't get up into his way because he's all in the back, and like 80 carries were getting bursted immediately, which is of course because of Rise. But I feel like with this change, it basically forced Rise players to get a little bit closer and into the action more instead of being that tanky backline, which is really hard to kill.
Yeah, I don't play Rise, and I haven't played a bunch of games against Rise, so I think that's a pretty good change. I know that he sees a lot of play top nowadays, and I think that reducing that range is trying to put him more on par with the top laners he has to go against, so he isn't just destroying most melee tops. So I think that that's generally just like a game balance buff. They are, instead of telling people that they can't, nerfing Rise into the ground and making him unplayable in every lane, and so that people stop playing him top, they're making it so that he's more suited to a top lane role instead of a mid carry, because he's being seen more there in competitive play. He's being seen more in the top lane. So I think I just think it's just one of the smarter changes I've seen, in the fact that they're actually targeting things that need to be targeted instead of just doing a blanket nerf to a character and then removing it from the competitive scene entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. They're trying to shift him more to that top lane, which with the it'll make it so he can trade, or other people can trade with him better. But by increasing the movement speed on his ultimate, it'll make it so he can get those kills. He can still make those plays even while he's top. It might probably hurt his mid play, but his top lane I feel will continue, if not increase, after this. I feel like it's a great great change. Also, for the Master Yi picture, I was trying to get it, somewhere here on my face, but for some reason, something on the Google Plus thing isn't allowing me to put it on my face. But
Okay, I thought I was looking at your camera. I was like, "What are you doing, Moose? Are you muted?"
oh, See? Got trolled. Got trolled. There goes my lower third. And we're back.
But yeah, we will definitely put a link in the video description so you guys can check that out
Yes.
while you're watching.
Just see the badassness. Oh my god, Moose. Really? Stupid Google Hangout toolbox things.
I gotta love it. Okay. What?
Like,
Yes.
God damn it, Google. Why do you give us these tools to dick around with?
Is that everything?
Is that all the main changes that we needed to talk about? I believe so. Oh, of course, Zach. Let's talk about Zach for like his tiny little change. They basically nerfed the damage on elastic slingshot. It starts at the base 80 still, but maxes out at 240 instead of 280. So small changes there. Besides that, those are pretty much all the main changes to the past year. There was pretty big. I feel like these are all aimed towards the LCS. Most definitely towards the LCS, and they're trying to just
Nerf that
Balance out
Meteos.
gameplay.
trying to nerf Meteos.
Yeah, they're just like,
God.
we can't handle his KDA being so ridiculously high. We have to do something about that.
Yes, it is just too good, too good.
Media's going down.
We'll save that for another podcast. Because there's a lot to talk about with the LCS right now.
Yeah.
But for now, I think that's us calling it a wrap. Once again, thanks to my co-host here, Mr. Anthony. If you
What
got
up?
anything you want to plug in there, you are more than welcome to.
Like always, try to check me out on Twitch. I might not stream all that much, but when I do, it can be half decently good, I guess. I still need to work on it, but go to twitch.tv/Leon760 and you'll find me there.
It's some quality stuff. He plays a pretty strong mid right now. He's been playing a lot of Kennen, Ari. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Then we got Mr. Kovacs, Mr. Mattew Kovacs, aka Matt, aka VictorOurs. Where can they find you at?
I mean, my Twitter is in the tag here at the bottom of the screen, and I'm not very good at League, but I'm hoping that I'm pretty enough so that you guys will keep watching these videos because that's what it's all about. I do like to talk about it a lot. I love to watch the LCS, and I think that that's kind of the angle that I can come at it from is just spectator, what I think that the game should be doing to make me happy instead of what I think it should be doing to be balanced. So I think that's what I'm here for. I don't post much about League on that, but I hope to start doing some more solo queue stuff. So hopefully I'll be able to put up my trek from bronze onward somewhere on that Twitter feed for you guys.
Nice,
I
nice.
apologize for that echo there, but yes, Mr. Matt, there. We're trying to get him to do more stuff. He's kind of just like, I got Twitter. Uh-oh. I get where he's coming from. Some of us may not be the best players, but it's not about being the best player. It's about being able to talk about the game in a way that will benefit you and the community. And, once again, I may not be the best player, but I consider myself a pretty decent player. One thing I consider myself is having great game knowledge and great just mechanics on the game and knowing how it works. So that's something that I bring here to these podcasts, and I try to explain to you guys and try to help you out in any way I can. So myself, you can find me at twitch.tv/moose94. All this stuff will be in the description. You can find me on youtube.com/hero94, Twitter at hero94. I stream all the time some League and some other games. Like I said, I may not be the best, but when you're watching my stream, I'll definitely try to help you improve in any way I can. So here we had another episode about the patch notes for League Talk.
Remember to like and subscribe.
And follow if you're on Twitch.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. You guys have a great day. They're supposed to be saying bye.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see you guys